We have the vagina, the cervix, the uterine tube, and at the end we've got those fimbriae. We also have the ovary with oocytes or eggs inside. Now the brain is important in this process of the menstrual cycle because underneath it there's the hypothalamus, and underneath that is the pituitary gland, and we're focusing on the anterior aspect of the pituitary gland. Now we've got day 0, 14 and 28 that we're going to focus on with this reproductive cycle. So first thing is primordial oocytes or eggs undergo this process of maturation where they turn into primary follicles, secondary follicles, and tertiary follicles. As this happens, certain cells become apparent and abundant. For example, follicular cells in the primary follicles then turn into granular and theca cells. They become more abundant, and then by the time it's a tertiary follicle, you've got huge amounts of granular and thecal cells. Now, these tertiary cells, or follicles, most will undergo atresia or cell death, but if early on in this cycle, the hypothalamus releases gonadotropin-releasing hormone, and that travels to the anterior aspect of the pituitary, that will release gonadotropins. There's two, follicle-stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. Here we're focusing on FSH. That surges, so you get this little spike of FSH. That travels to these tertiary follicles and selects some to stop undergoing atresia and mature into a Graafian follicle. So one will become a Graafian follicle or mature follicle. You can see the granular and theca cells become quite abundant and they release estrogen. Now this estrogen continues to prepare the uterine lining for implantation, and its low levels, because you can see it's starting to bump up here, and the low levels of estrogen inhibit gonadotropin releasing hormone from being released. But as the Graafian follicle matures, it starts to release more estrogen, and the high levels of estrogen not only continue to prepare the uterus, but it activates gonadotropin releasing hormone, and you get a surge of FSH and LH just before day 14. Now the LH, luteinizing hormone, travels to the Graafian follicle, tells it to ovulate at around about day 14, and the fimbriae take in that egg into the uterine tube. What we're left with is this empty body called the corpus luteum, which means yellow body. It's yellow because it's mainly cholesterol, and it releases progesterone for around about 10 days. So you can see that here. The progesterone further prepares that uterine lining for implantation. But if at the end of this cycle, no egg is implanted, no signal is sent, the uterine lining sloughs away, and that's menstruation.